Do you believe that this world is a mirror? We often think that we are seeing the objective truth. When someone frowns at you, you think they are difficult. When it rains, you think the day is gloomy. When you face bad luck, you think the whole universe is against you. But the truth is, we do not see the world as it is. We see the world as we are. Your mind is a giant filter. If you wear red glasses, the whole world is stained with blood. If you wear blue glasses, the whole world is cold as ice. And if there is a storm inside your heart, then even if you stand in a field of spring flowers, you will only hear the screaming wind. Tonight, let me take you to a strange place lying on the border between reality and dreams. A place called the House of Echoing Steps. Here, the floor is not made of wood, but of mood. Here, every step you take does not make a hollow thud, but echoes the sound of your own soul. Be careful with what you bring into this house, because it will not hide anything. The House of Echoing Steps stood lonely on the peak of Greycliff, where white fog blanketed the ground all year round. Legend has it that this house was built by a blind architect, one who could not see shapes, but could hear the hearts of men. One gloomy afternoon, a luxurious carriage stained with the dust of the road stopped before the mansion gates. Stepping out was Count Victor. Victor was a powerful, wealthy man, but his face was permanently etched with lines of frowning and suspicion. He had spent his entire life fighting, seizing, and guarding against others. He did not come here for a vacation. He came to buy this mansion. He wanted to turn this desolate place into his final refuge, far away from the liars, the flatterers, and the noisy deception of the human world. Greeting him was an old butler, his back bent, holding a bunch of rusty keys. He said nothing, only bowed and opened the heavy oak door. "I want to see the house first," Victor said, his voice imperious. "And I warn you, I hate noise. If these floors creak, I will deduct it from the price." The butler smiled mysteriously. "Sir, this house is very quiet. It is only noisy when its guest is noisy." Victor snorted in contempt. He adjusted his collar, gripped his jeweled cane tightly, and took his first step into the grand hall. Boom! Victor jumped. That was not the sound of a shoe hitting a wooden floor. It was the sound of thunder. A peal of thunder roared right beneath his heel, shaking the ceiling. Victor stepped back, his face drained of blood. He pulled a pistol from his coat, aiming into the darkness. "Who is there? Who is playing tricks?" No one answered. Only absolute silence. Victor gritted his teeth. He thought it was a trap. He took a second step, harder, full of rage. Screech! Crack! This time the sound was like bones breaking, like metal grinding against metal, piercing and terrifying. It sounded like a guillotine blade falling. Victor panicked. He started to run. He wanted to cross the hall to find the prankster. But the faster he ran, the more the footsteps morphed into horror. Every running step created screams, the booing of a crowd, the shattering of glass, the clash of swords. The entire hall turned into a chaotic battlefield of sound. The paintings on the walls rattled. Victor clutched his head and collapsed in the middle of the room. The deafening noise surrounded him, attacking his eardrums. "Stop! Stop it now!" he screamed. The old butler stood still at the door, as calm as if nothing was happening. He walked toward Victor. Strangely, the old man's footsteps were completely silent, like a cat gliding on velvet. "How are you doing that?" Victor gasped, sweat pouring off him. "Why don't your steps make a sound? Why do mine sound like bombs exploding?" "Sir," the butler replied, his voice light, "I told you, this house does not create sound. It only reflects it. What you are hearing is the sound of your own heart." Victor did not believe him. He thought it was some dark magic trick. He sat huddled in the corner, refusing to move, his eyes darting around in suspicion. Just then, the great door opened again. A young girl entered. It was Clara, the gardener's niece, coming to deliver food. Clara was poor, her clothes patched, her canvas shoes worn thin, but her face shone like the full moon. She walked in humming a happy tune, carrying a basket of red apples. Victor sneered. "Let's see how terrified this little girl gets." Clara stepped into the hall. She placed her foot on the exact same tile Victor had stepped on earlier, the tile that had thundered. Ting! Victor froze. The sound was not thunder. It was the sound of a crystal wind chime, clear and pure. Clara took another step. Ting, tang, ting. Every step she took created a musical note. Her left foot was a low note, her right foot a high note. She wasn't walking, she was dancing. The floor beneath her feet didn't scream, it sang. It made the sound of a babbling brook, of morning birds, of leaves rustling in the autumn wind. The gloomy hall suddenly brightened. The cold air was warmed by an invisible symphony. Clara spun around, her dress flaring out. The floor responded with a violin chord so melodious that Victor felt his heart tighten with emotion. Clara saw Victor huddled in the dark corner. She wasn't afraid. She smiled and walked toward him. Her footsteps approaching him sounded as warm as a crackling fire in a hearth. "Sir, are you all right?" Clara asked, offering him an apple. "The floor here is wonderful, isn't it? I always feel like I'm walking on piano keys." Victor looked at the girl, then down at her torn shoes, then back at his own expensive, polished leather boots. He asked, trembling, "Why? Why don't you hear the screaming? Why don't you see the war?" Clara looked confused. "War? I only hear joy. Today the weather is beautiful, the apple orchard is ripe, and I got to see the butler. I think life is beautiful." Victor dropped his cane. In that moment, his arrogance collapsed. He realized the butler was right. The house was not haunted. He was the one who was haunted. The ghost was the anger, the greed, the suspicion he had nurtured in his heart for 40 years. He carried a battlefield in his chest, so wherever he went, the earth shook with the sound of gunfire. But Clara, she carried a garden in her heart, so even on rotting wood, her steps bloomed into music. Clara left after dropping off the apples. The space returned to silence. Only Victor and the butler remained. "What do I do?" Victor asked, his voice hoarse, weak as a lost child. "I cannot live with these explosions forever. I will go deaf. I will go mad." "You cannot change the floor, sir," the butler said. "You must change the feet, or rather, change the mind that controls the feet." "But I am used to walking like this. I am used to trampling on others, used to walking heavily to show power." "Then today, sir, you must learn to walk again, like a child." And so a strange scene unfolded in the house of echoing steps. A powerful, wealthy man began to practice walking, one step at a time under the guidance of a bent old man. "Breathe in," the butler chanted. "Think of something you are grateful for. Do not think of hatred." Victor closed his eyes. He tried to push away the images of his business rivals. He tried to remember. Memories flooded back. He remembered his childhood, when his mother baked bread, the smell of butter and flour, his mother's gentle smile. His heart softened. The tension in his shoulders released. He took a step, thud. It was still the sound of dry wood, but it was no longer a gunshot. It was just the heavy step of a tired man. That was progress. "Very good," the butler nodded. "Continue. Forgive. Forgive those who cheated you, and forgive yourself for being so harsh on yourself." Victor took another step. He thought of the wife who had left because she couldn't stand his temper. He whispered an apology in his mind. Bong. A sound resonated, deep, echoing, like a distant temple bell. It was sad, but peaceful. Victor wept. He walked around the hall like that. Every step was a stone lifted from his heart. The screaming vanished. The clashing metal vanished. Instead, there was the sound of wind, of ocean waves lapping, and sometimes, just sometimes, a tiny crystal ting would ring out. That night, Victor slept on the floor of the great hall. For the first time in years, he slept without nightmares, because he knew the monster under the bed was gone, because he had chased it out of his own heart. The next morning, Victor decided not to buy the house. He realized he didn't need to run away from the world. He didn't need a quiet shelter. He needed to carry that quiet with him. He walked out to the gate, where the carriage was waiting. The butler bowed to him one last time. "Thank you," Victor said, gripping his cane firmly, but no longer using it to strike the ground. "I have found what I needed." He stepped into the carriage. The driver was surprised to see his master, who usually shouted and complained, smiling gently today. "Let's go home, my friend," Victor said softly. "It is a beautiful day." As the wheels rolled, Victor looked back at the house of echoing steps one last time. The house still stood there, silent and stoic in the mist. It was not heaven, nor was it hell. It was just a faithful mirror. Victor closed his eyes, listening to his own heartbeat. Thump, thump. It sounded like a gentle waltz, and he knew from now on, whether he walked on gravel or thorns, his steps would always bloom. My dear friend, the story of the House of Echoing Steps has come to a close, But did you know we are living in that very house every single day? The world is that house. Every morning when you wake up, what mood do you bring out into the street? If you carry resentment, you will see traffic jams as torture, car horns as insults, and colleagues as enemies. The world will scream chaos into your face. But if you carry gratitude and joy in your heart, you will see a traffic jam as a chance to listen to a song, car horns as the rhythm of life, and a stranger's smile as a gift. The world will sing you a love song. Do not try to change the floor. Do not try to force the whole world to be silent so you can have peace that is impossible. Change your step, change the weather inside your soul. When your heart is calm, the storm outside is just a cooling shower. When your mind blooms, even if you walk through a dry desert, you will smell the fragrance of flowers. Walk gently. Walk with forgiveness. And listen closely. What is the world echoing back to you right now? Thank you for listening. Wishing you a peaceful night. And may every step you take tomorrow ring with the music of happiness.